Hello everyone and welcome back to Deadite Talk, the Ultimate Ash vs Evil Dead Rewatch podcast. We are at episode 10 already, the finale. We've been doing this for 10 weeks already. Absolutely insane. I don't know where the time's gone. It's just flown by. This has been a thrill and a pleasure and an educational experience doing this with all you guys who do participate in this. I greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy watching and listening to this, I do appreciate that as well. It helps me out. It supports the channel and it continues to let me do this. You know, it gives me purpose, I guess, to continue doing this because this takes a long time to do. Like I keep saying, you know, people might just think I record the podcast and that's it. I rewatch the episode like 2 or 3 times. I gather all the information I possibly can for all the background details and all the little nitbits that you guys enjoy listening to as well. So, you know, I look around in there a lot. I pull out some things. I hear things from the DVD commentary that I find interesting about each episode, and you know, each scene that I enjoy in each episode, why I enjoy it, you know, just talking about all that with you guys. It's just been amazing. And yeah, let's just jump straight to this, I guess. And before we begin, I just want to say, please support the podcast, hit that like button, hit that sub button, become a member, buy merch, all that good stuff. If you want to go a step further, of course, to support financially, you can do so. And I greatly appreciate that because it does help me out. So let's jump into episode 10, The Dark One. This aired on the 2nd of January, 2016. Director Rick Jacobson, who did 6 episodes of Ash vs Evil Dead. They also worked on Xena and Spartacus. It's written by Craig DeGregorio. I want to say. I think he writes the next episode. I can never say his name right. Who has written Drake and Josh before. Sorry, Drake and Josh and Everybody Hates Chris. There wasn't really any other notable credits, but yeah, Drake and Josh writer on this. It's very random to get that in there. It is developed for TV by Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi, as guest starring Samara Weaving as Heather, and that is it. Also, we have the tattoo girl back, and I forget her name, but at the credits, all it says is Samara Weaving is the guest star, so that's what we put in there. Synopsis: a last-ditch effort to rid the world of evil could leave Ash a changed man, as well as changing mankind forever. And this episode, it had some, I don't know, man, it's just so good, but it has a bit of a downfall towards the end, and we'll get into that, and we'll do the scene by scene here. I find myself writing, when I do the scene by scenes, I write some notes down because I was enjoying the episode that much. There wasn't really things that was popping out or standing out to me because it's became a standard across all these episodes now where, you know, I've talked about certain camera shots and things, and you know how an actor would play a scene and things like that. So it's all kind of became standard in each scene now to where it doesn't really stand out to me anymore, you know? So I didn't have a lot of notes to take down for each scene, but we'll get into this anyways. So let's start the episode, and Kelly attempts to rip the Necronomicon's face off Pablo's head while Ash confronts Ruby. Heather tries to run away, but Deadite Amanda shows up at the cabin and faces off against Ash. He tries to get the chainsaw, but Amanda grabs it first, swings it at him. The Necronomicon spirit takes over Pablo, and Ruby knocks Kelly out. Ash manages to wrestle the chainsaw back and kills Amanda, but Ruby and Pablo are nowhere to be seen, and the fruit cellar door is open. Oh crap. Now, this was an absolutely hectic starting scene for this episode. You know, we just had so many fast camera movements going on. You know, they did it really well. It's kind of like a way to establish the pace of the episode very fastly. Or very quickly, sorry. Is fastly a fucking word? I don't know. So very quickly establishing the pace of the episode, going from 0 to 100 with all this quick camera movement, you know, zooming in on the chainsaw, zooming in on Heather's face, zooming in on Kelly's face, and then, you know, kind of establishing where the characters are in this scene as well. Like, you know, Samara Weaving, Heather is trying to, you know, creep away out of the action, and, you know, she's getting all freaked out. You know, we're zooming in on Pablo and Kelly, what's happening with them and where they are, and, you know, getting dragged into the cellar and stuff. So, you know, they do some really good camera work there, and I really appreciate that. Again, the fight choreography as well with Amanda. The fight choreography is always on point with this. With Ash vs Evil Dead, it's so well done, honestly. It's just an absolutely insane opening, and then, you know, the gore and the huge blood splatter going all over Ash's face and then all over Heather as well. I just love that. And then seeing Deadite Amanda floating down the hallway, I thought that was really creepy as hell. You know, I don't really think we've seen a Deadite float before, have we? Apart from Henrietta, I suppose. I don't know. It doesn't really pop into my brain about a Deadite floating. But yeah, it was very creepy, but I liked it. I loved it. It was a nice little, I suppose, campy setup of like being in that iconic location of like the living room, I guess it is, of the cabin. But yeah, it was great. So moving on to the next scene, Ash and Kelly intend to head into the cellar while Heather stays behind, but the evil spirit crashes into the cabin and sends Ash tumbling down the stairs while the door closes behind him. You know, just some cool notes that I have, like the camera angles of like looking up to Ash from in the basement. I thought that was really cool. Ash grabbing the ammo, and you know, he's putting the boot polish on his hair and duct taping his boomstick. You know, that's kind of a throwback to Evil Dead 2 with the boot polish, I guess, because at the end of Evil Dead 2, he does get the gray streak in his hair, which I believe we don't actually see in Ash vs. Evil Dead until the final episode. So that's kind of a nice little homage, I guess, to Evil Dead 2. But all the close-up shots of him just reloading his boomstick, grabbing the ammo and stuff, I really like that. I really like seeing things like that, and kind of brings a bit of action or preparation to each episode when you see stuff like that. Dana's acting again was on peak, you know, delivering her lines when she's talking about Pablo and, you know, wanting to kill Ruby. You know, she's showing real emotion of wanting to save him and kill Ruby at the same time, you know, and just a lot of frustrations, like, that's my Pablo down there as well. I want to pop that tall bitch, you know, like the way she delivers that is really well done. Moving on to the next scene, Ash ends up back in his trailer with the same woman he's read the Necronomicon with, and she offers him to read the poetry to her. He thinks that maybe the entire ordeal is just a bad dream he's having, but still refuses to read the book. This was like kind of a nice little twist, I guess, when he's falling into the cabin, and then like, I suppose we do a little time jump here, even though it's Ash just having a vision. But imagine if like the way they did that was like, this was all like, all the previous episodes was just Ash imagining this before he actually like, he just started to imagine this when he grabbed the Necronomicon out of the trunk and was about to read from it. Like, imagine if they went that route. I think I would have been extremely pissed off, but it would have been interesting as well. So I guess it had the audience guessing, like, was everything we just seen actually true? But yeah, it's crazy. Ruby appears in the trailer and tells Ash that he was prophesized to be her enemy, but also that he can change everything and give her back control over all evil on Earth. Ash relents and names everything he wants as a price for not standing in her way, and Ruby tempts him with Jacksonville. He still tries to kill her with the boomstick, but she sends him back into the cabin. You know, having the camera facing Bruce fallen again paid homage to Evil Dead 2. There's a lot of close-up scenes that is facing Ash in Evil Dead 2 when he's like getting thrown through the forest, when he's, you know, falling down the stairs and all that stuff. So there's a, you know, not when he's falling down the stairs, but when he's going through the portal in Evil Dead 2. Sorry, but yeah, it's paying a lot of homage to that when he's falling down the stairs, and it just shows again that this is, I suppose, the Evil Dead 4 that we never got. Right. I suppose that's what you could treat it as. Amazing scene from Bruce and Lucy again, you know, both of them in the trailer just dominating the show as always. I loved hearing the lore of Ash as well appearing in the Necronomicon. I thought that was interesting, you know, how he just appeared in her book all of a sudden when she created it, you know, giving us some background detail on, you know, why he's actually in the book, and, you know, that's Mr. Jefe to you. I thought that was funny. Ash tries to open the door, but it doesn't budge, and his light goes out. With no other way than forward, he attempts to venture forward, but an undead child scares him briefly, and Ash wonders if he should have taken the deal. He hears noises further into the cellar, and Battle cries that he's coming to save Pedro. I'm going to save you, Pedro. Pablo. Kelly attempts to shoot off the lid with her gun, but her gun jams or runs out of ammo. She tries to hack it open with an axe, and Heather tries to convince her to get out of the cabin. Professor Noby's tape starts playing, and Heather starts hallucinating bugs crawling all over her body. Kelly snaps her out of it and notices an eye in the wall, smashing it with an axe. The cellar door opens and smashes her against the ceiling, while the spirit tosses her out of the cabin and locks the door. This was just absolutely fucking insane, all that, what was going on. And, you know, seeing the cockroaches, like, I don't know, crawling all over Heather, I thought that was cool. If you guys notice in the cellar, you actually see Freddy Krueger's glove on the wall left of the door. I thought that was an interesting thing. I had to pause it to actually double check, but it was Freddy Krueger's glove, which is actually later confirmed by Bruce. Love the cellar setup as well, which takes the TV show to a whole new level of horror as well than what we've seen before, which continues with the bugs crawling on Heather, like I said. You know, then the eyeball on the wall appearing in the cabin that Kelly attacks just really makes it feel like a classic Evil Dead movie. Like I said, it does feel like an Evil Dead 4. Moving on to the next scene, Ash goes forward into the cabin's bowels and encounters the body of Jake, a local redneck who was killed by possessed Henrietta Nobi 30 years ago. Continuing on, he sees Ruby using Pablo's skin to write the new Necronomicon, while Pablo himself regurgitates a demonic child that quickly grows into an early teenage state and digs his way upwards into the cabin. Heather gets attacked by the cabin, the couch flipping onto her broken leg, pelting her with nails, and is dragged into the hallway where she is killed, and Kelly gets sprayed with her blood and mutilated remains. Heather's head taunts her, but Kelly remains determined. Fucking, you know, just reading that, it felt like a short, like nothing really happened because it was just such a short paragraph, but man, it was just absolutely crazy seeing all this in the show, especially like Heather just getting attacked by the cabin. It was insane. You know, the camera work of transitioning from the cabin door, so when Kelly's trying to get back inside the cabin, the camera kind of tilts like a 90-degree angle and goes into the floor, and then it transitions into the cellar of what Ash is doing, and then, you know, Ash having a bad memory of Jake being dragged into the cellar when seeing his corpse as well. You know, it's just a great use of the original material. And you know, if it's really good for people who have never seen the original movies, if they're watching this show, and you know, it's not forced, it's not pandered into you or anything like that. It's done in such an intelligent way to showcase, you know, what he's remembering of what happened in Evil Dead 2, and then that's given the new audience an idea of what happened in a very smart way, which I really do appreciate. And you know, Pablo regurgitating a demonic child, I always find that really disgusting. You guys might hate me for this, but I thought I'd point it out. I thought there was a little bit of a plot hole question here that I have. So if this was part of Ruby's plan all along to have, you know, demonic children, this would heavily rely on El Brujo dying and him passing his amulet onto Pablo, because the whole reason the Necronomicon's face transfers onto Pablo's face is because of the amulet. You know, it gets attracted to the amulet and drags him forward to it. So, you know, what would have happened if this wasn't the case? You know, what if Pablo didn't get the amulet? You know, what was Ruby's plan then? I don't know. I just thought it was bizarre. I know she wants to control the evil and stuff. Maybe this was just something extra that, you know, there was an opportunity that arose to her at the moment. I don't know. I just thought it was a bit bizarre, honestly. Although, how could she really use the Necronomicon if it didn't have a face? I don't know. It's just a bit of a question, a bit of a plot hole that I wanted to. I wouldn't say it's really a plot hole, but more of a question. Like, how does this kind of make any sense to Ruby's plan? And you know, she couldn't have predicted that this was gonna be a thing. So I don't know. I also wanted to ask: is it a common misconception for Americans to think Australians are English? Because Kelly says that to Heather. You know, she says you're going to be the best dental hygienist from whatever, you know, from England or whatever country you're from. You know, is that a common misconception? It probably is. I mean, you guys who are in America think I'm Irish all the time. I don't know why. I love this entire scene as well. Just seeing Heather taking an absolute beating. You know, Samara Weaving, she has like her trademark scream, I guess, in horror movies, and yeah, you see it come to light in this episode. I think this is the only time we really see this happen in the show for one character to be put through so much torment as well. You know, just thinking further ahead, I don't really think there's a character that goes through so much torment as what Heather did. And, you know, again, it just felt like a classic Evil Dead 2 scene. I loved it. Seeing the cabin come back to life too as well, and an updated version of Evil Dead is really well done. You know, with all the practical effects, you know, it's not over CGI'd or anything like that. It works really well. And, it, you know, just seeing it in, we see a modern set, and this aired like 9 years ago. And yeah, you know, just seeing it kind of a more up-to-date version is just, it's just great. Kelly failing to kick Heather's head away always just makes me laugh. And then, you know, Kelly looks absolutely badass in the scene, in the rain and the blood, you know, just showing how determined she is to stop all this from happening and going to save Ash and Pablo in the cellar. I thought she looked really cool, honestly, and really badass. Ash gets attacked by a demonic child, but he manages to kill it while Ruby douses the cabin in gasoline. Sorry, while Kelly douses the cabin in gasoline. I said Ruby there. And sets it on fire. Ash fires several shots into Ruby and gets her down to finish off. But possessed Pablo attacks him from behind. Pablo tries to fight the spirit while Kelly gets into the cellar and encounters another child running out of the cabin. Pablo begs Ash to kill him while Ruby regenerates from her wounds, Terminator style. I thought it was. And the gas in Ash's chainsaw runs out. He tries to kill Ash with a boomstick, but Kelly appears in time just to stop him with an axe. Ruby finishes writing the new Necronomicon and attempts to slice Ash's face off to make a new cover. That would have been fucking weird, wouldn't it? Imagine if that was like kind of the setup to season 2 of Ash versus Evil Dead, of him getting his face cut off and put on the Necronomicon. That would have been a really out of there plot, but I would have been up for it. I would like to see what they could have done with that. But he distracts her with a question: "Have you lost weight?" And snatched the dagger from her hand while the possessed Pablo is strangling Kelly. Ruby tells him to take the deal to save his friends and humanity. Ash agrees to the terms, much to Pablo and Kelly's displeasure, but he still goes through with it. The Necronomicon's face detaches from Pablo and goes onto the book. Again, just absolutely crazy scenes, so many suspenseful moments, slow build-ups of, walking through the cellar of the cabin in the darkness, all these creepy little kids being in there. It was really nice way to bring some horror to the episode, because it could have just went the whole comedy horror comedy gore route, I guess, which they do with Evil Dead a lot, and the whole possession thing with the cabin. But they had these dark, gritty moments as well to really elevate the show even further by bringing in some horror aspects to it as well, I thought. And they did it in such a good way too, of them moving through the bowels of the cellar of the cabin. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Again, though, I don't really know the whole point of this. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. This ending is a bit iffy for me. It really is. Ash rehearsing his lines as well about what he's going to say to Ruby, and he's being interrupted by the creepy kid. It's a nice touch to add a little bit more comedy to the episode as well. The fight choreography with the kid, I thought that was really cool. Ash getting his shirt more ripped, so his sleeve gets ripped off. Again, could be paying a little bit more homage to Evil Dead 2 when his shirt is mostly all ripped off. And some nice camera work with the fight sequence, I thought it was really good. Kelly going from completely red top to white with a little bit of blood on it outside. What? Yeah, this didn't make any sense. I've always had a problem with this. So obviously she gets covered in Heather's blood. Then you'll see there after Heather dies, her top is completely dyed red. And then the next scene, when she's grabbing the gasoline and stuff, it's just white with a little bit of blood on it. I don't know. It was clearly shot out of sequence, I guess. But yeah, it just didn't make any sense. But her burning the cabin was actually a really cool scene. I like that. Nice wide angle shot, just the rain pouring down and her just kind of going crazy and enjoying burning the cabin down. I thought that was good. The end fight, it was great with Pablo and Ash as well. Again, just some good fight choreography there. It's smart writing as well to bring something back from episode 6. We're gassing up the chainsaw, so it was a little bit of foreshadowing there from episode 6 even, where Ash says to Pablo, "Remind me to fill up the chainsaw when we get there," and he didn't. So that's why the chainsaw cut out when Pablo was trying to kill himself with Ash's chainsaw. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but because I've watched season 2's finale, it kind of makes me not enjoy this one more. Just because I suppose everything is just saved by Ash having a question, like it does in the end of season 2. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil that for people who haven't seen it, but yeah, it's kind of... I mean, the ending of season 2 is just... There's so many issues with it, but we'll get to that point. I suppose I should see it as this is the first iteration of it, and the first iteration of an ending for a season for this TV show. So I suppose I shouldn't hold it back for what it is right now, when season 2 wasn't even a thing yet. But yeah, it just, I still have a problem with the ending. The trio go to Jacksonville, with Ash being proud of his choice, and Pablo and Kelly are not sharing in his happiness. You just seeing them looking like kids just in the back, disappointed children in the back of the Delta there. It seems like Ash himself partly regrets his choice, with a large hole opening in the ground right behind the car. I thought it was cool though, Ash driving off and he has the manic woo, and the Back in Black starts playing from AC/DC. It was a funny end scene. Again, great music choice, works well with the context. It's really fitting, just like Deep Purple is at the start of the season as well. This show in general just always has a great soundtrack, and great ending songs and stuff for the credits. I thought they always pick some really good stuff from the sound department there. Just Ash letting out the manic woo, and the world is just falling apart underneath him. It's just classic Ash as well. I think after all we've been through with the Ghost Beaters in this whole season, honestly, we've gone through so much in each episode. Again, like I said, I couldn't really pick out a lot from each scene here, and the scenes were just so compact, and a lot of it was happening in the cellar. Obviously there was a lot of attention to detail that I really appreciated in this episode. Again, that's just a standard throughout this entire show with the prop department and how they're creating the scene, and we talked about this in the last couple episodes of how well they designed the cabin as well. But yeah, just everything we've been through with the Ghost Beaters in this whole season, I thought the ending was a little weak, honestly. I thought it was just to, having Ash just to sort of give up. Although, I suppose if you take it in a way that he was doing it to save Pablo as well. Not just like, he could have killed, maybe if he killed Ruby, who would know, right? Ash wouldn't know, of course, if he killed Ruby. And then, would the Necronomicon face fall off Pablo? Would they have to figure out a way to get rid of the amulet off Pablo so the face would fall? They could have done something along those lines for the ending as well. But I suppose they kind of left it open. Maybe they didn't realize that they were getting a season 2. So I suppose there's a little bit of closure there of Ash's story. And right now I'm going to go retire in Jacksonville and that's it. Or... we're not gonna, that just leaves it open for that, and there's still some chaos going on at the same time. So even if they were going to get a season 2 and they could play on that chaos, which it does get a season 2, but I don't know. Maybe it was that was the case for the ending, and yeah, I suppose it could be the case for the ending in season 2 as well. Like them just not knowing that there's a second season when they've already written the show could be a problem for that. We're Evil Dead fans, from what we've been through with everything in the Evil Dead media and the franchise, we don't really get a solid ending on a lot of stuff. And, things get cancelled. We're always left with more questions than answers when we're watching the Evil Dead stuff, which, again, isn't a bad thing because, some of my favorite stuff is when you kind of don't get spoon-fed things. And, it leaves it open to interpretation of how you perceive it, what you think is going to happen. You can write your own fiction that way. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I still just think after everything we went through and how Ash's character developed throughout the entire season, it could have ended a lot better for the character. Yeah, he was always confident that he was going to solve this issue once and for all. And I think he just took the easy way out. I think that's just the way it went on, I guess. But yeah, that's the scene by scene for the final episode of season 1. I won't be reading the scene by scene again for a while. Well, next week, I guess, if we're going to do this. We're going to continue to do this next week, season 2, episode 1. But yeah, that's the final scene by scene for season 1. And man, 10 weeks of doing this. It's crazy. Now let's move on to the interesting things of note. Now, there was some decent things in here. Again, it was DVD commentary from Bruce, Dana, Ray, and Lucy Lawless. Last episode, they didn't really give much. They didn't say how things were shot. But this episode, they gave a few things that we can talk about, which I kind of enjoyed. So for the DVD commentary, Bruce said he went blind shooting the part of Chainsaw and Amanda. He had lines of dialogue he had to say during that scene, but he couldn't see to actually deliver them. He also could not wear his contact lenses due to the blood going in them as well. He's kind of disappointed. He's like, yeah, I realized this was a show. I wasn't going to be able to wear contact lenses because the blood being stuck to them and stuff in his eyes. But yeah, I think it's crazy. He does get a lot of blood covered in him and that. Bruce said the original seller from the movies was the producer, Rob Tabbitt's family house on a farm. and they had to recreate every little detail of it. He continued to say that it was the darkest time filming the show because they had so much of the script down there. It was dark and cold filming with all them scenes, which took days to shoot as well. That must be crazy though. You know, being in that cellar, like in a different location, and it's so well designed, and obviously they expanded upon it by adding more rooms and stuff, because we don't get to see any further into the cellar on the original Evil Dead movies. So for them to kind of expand upon, like, they could recreate the section that we see in the movies really well, and then expand upon that. I think that's really cool. But yeah, imagine just filming down. Well, I imagine it's not an actual cellar, but more of a set. But imagine just filming in a set like that, and it's just freezing all the time, and it's dark. I would not have enjoyed that. Bruce confirmed that Freddy Krueger's glove was on the wall of the cellar to pay homage to him. Dana said Samara had real cockroaches on her when hallucinating, and actually allowed Dana to hit her as well to snap her out of it. Dana said Samara, Ray, and herself stayed to shoot a few weeks after everyone else had left to film their scenes. That's crazy. I don't know, that's very weird. You know, I mean, in my brain, they would just shoot every episode in sequence, right? But no, I suppose they'd shoot every scene in that location first, wouldn't they? But yeah, that's crazy. Bruce said that he was walking through the cellar and discovers what's happening to Pablo. He never even saw any of it, and he had to imagine it all. Ray said he was shooting for days with that mask on, covered in goo, and they were all freezing shooting this in winter as well. Dana said she couldn't lift her leg properly to kick Heather's head because all of the water that would be going into her boots, and she had to keep emptying them after each shot. I was thinking that, I was like, yeah, her kick wasn't very good. But it's because it was her boot. I'll get my words out. Her boot was filled with water. Bruce said he laughed after every take of fighting with the creepy kid. Dana said that Ray didn't tell her he was going to spit the blood in her mouth on the floor. IMDb trivia: before Ash heads into the fruit cellar to save Pablo, he puts on black shoe polish in the hair, specifically on the left side of his head. At the end of Evil Dead 2, with the rotten apple head monster bursts through the door of the cabin, Ash is so frightened by the sight of this monster, a small portion of his hair turns grey on the left side of his head. Yeah, I thought it was a really cool thing that they did that. And, you know, I think it's more of like an iconic look that they have that in there. Freddy Krueger's glove makes an appearance again in the basement this time, except this time modified to fit a left hand. This is reference to the second installment in the film series where Freddy's glove appears hanging above the workshed door, due to a playful feud between Sam Raimi and Wes Craven, creator of Nightmare on Elm Street series. So there you go. That's all the trivia and background details for this episode. Moving on to your thoughts. Now, you guys typed a lot out, so we're going to be here for a while. Let's move on to your thoughts. So let's start with Spoder, as always. Before we jump in, just want to thank you for doing these every week. They are really fun to watch and also participate in. Hearing background things I didn't know about the show and stuff. It's been awesome so far. Looking forward to the rest of the journey with you and everyone else. Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys actually participating in, because, like I said, if you guys didn't participate, this would be extremely boring of me just giving my thoughts on each episode and then fucking ending the podcast. So, I like always hearing other people's perspectives as well. Like I said before, you know, just being able to see things in a different light than what I would have normally seen. Or things I just would have missed totally. But yeah, it's been really fun doing this every week with you guys for the last 10 weeks. And we're going to continue it. Another 20 weeks of doing this. We'll be done by, you know, maybe April or something, June next year. We'll see. But no, it'll be earlier than that. Oh, it might be April time. We'll be done. But yeah, it's something to look forward to every week. I really enjoy doing this. I need to manage my time a bit better with this though, because, you know, doing this all in one day is a lot. I think I should watch the episode the night before and type my notes up and stuff on it, and then the next day maybe have some breakfast and rewatch the episode again, and then just, you know, have some more fresh ideas as well on top of what I've already said. Maybe I'll do that for the future seasons. But yeah, I appreciate your kind words, Sporter. Now let's begin with the finale of this season, which is directed by Rick Jacobson. Nothing short of a masterclass from this dude. He really pulled off what I believe was almost impossible. He managed to effectively balance everything throughout the episode without it feeling underwhelming or rushed. He added a lot of pressure going into this as well, holding the same consistency as previous directors and especially honoring Sam Raimi's legacy within the franchise. Fantastic job overall and great direction. Yeah, I thought he was really good. I was actually surprised they were going to get a new director to do the finale. Because, you know, obviously Sam Raimi did the premiere, I guess, the season premiere of Ash vs. Evil Dead. And then we had, like, you know, we had the director each doing 2 episodes, you know, to sort of fit their story. I thought, you know, we would have got, what was the last one? Tony Tilsley, I think their name was. I thought we would have got him for the finale as well. Which wouldn't have been a bad thing. And I think, you know, this guy does a great job as well. I would just, you know, I would love to see how other directors would handle things as well. You know, how would MJ had tackled this episode? How would Tilsey tackled this episode? And the other guy, I forget his name. The other guy that did the Western Moose episodes, like how would he have tackled this episode? You know, I would like to see different versions. I would have, obviously, you know, you can't do that because it's just it's impossible. But yeah, you know, in an alternate reality, seeing something like that would have been really cool. But yeah, he definitely had a lot of pressure going into this with it being his first episode of the season and it being the big finale. Yeah, he did a great job with that. Opening with the whole Amanda fight scene was nice. It really hooks you into the episode straight away, and even more with the clean choreography and sharp camera angles and cuts. I thought the use of the low angle shots were the most effective in this episode as well. They were a nice metaphor to me, posing the notion that Ash has the dominance of power over his enemies, even though they have the higher power creep. Power creep is power fantasy. Or creep. You put that in there on purpose, didn't you? As they are above him in these low angle shots, it shows that even when he is against the odds, he can pull off anything, and he sure as hell does with that absolutely insane Deadite Amanda kill. Felt like a kill from Terrifier. It was bonkers, but yeah, fantastic opening to the episode and a strong start of direction from Jacobson. Now for the opening scene, I do think the quick camera shots were nice. They were just a bit too much. Just a little bit too much. I think they could have dialed it down just a little bit. I just found myself, like, when I was watching the first scene, I was like, good lord, this is fucking crazy. But yeah, I suppose it's always a nice way to get the episode up and to grip you, and going from 0 to 100 immediately, and they do it in a good way like that. Love the scene with Ash and Kelly before he goes down into the cellar. Not only does it show how far Ash has come as a character, but even more so how much progression Kelly has had. There's a great juxtaposition. You said that again, juxtaposition. Here with firstly Ash wanting to go in solo without Kelly, as he doesn't want her or Pablo dying due to the amount of care he has for them now. And then he doesn't care about Heather because he's just like, yeah, and other girl, you and the other girl can stay here. Then on the other hand, you have Kelly, who wants to go with Ash and doesn't care about any of the consequences, whether it's death or not. She wants to see this through with him until the very end. And I love this development for both of them. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed Kelly didn't go down with him, but I suppose she was sort of going to go down, and yeah, the cabin stopped it from happening. But it would have been cool to see them both. But it was an intelligent way to split the characters up as well, with the cabin becoming possessed, and then that creates its own little plot and its own of the cabin becoming possessed, and, you know, fucking with Heather and Kelly while Ash is dealing with stuff in the basement. You know, it works well to having 2 different plots going on within the episode, and yeah, I loved all that. And yeah, I agree with Kelly. You know, it really stood out to me how well Dana acted in this episode, especially when she was showing emotions and wanting to help and to get Pablo back and to kill Ruby and to try and be done with all this stuff, because of everything that she's went through, and to get revenge, you know, for our parents. And this, you know, she knows that, you know, she's the Dark One, and she was kind of the beginning of all this shit from happening to her as well. So she wants to stop it all. And yeah, I agree. I think she did a great job. The next scene I really adored was when Ash was walking down the cellar steps and he falls into what seems like an abyss. I saw this as a cool callback to the end of Evil Dead 2 where Ash is falling through the portal to Castle Kandar. Similar shots were used for both scenes and it was nostalgic. Yeah, totally agree with that. I noticed that as well as the camera shot of when Ash is getting thrown through the forest on Evil Dead 2 as well. It definitely adds a nostalgic feel to it. As cheesy as it looks, it works well within Ash vs. Evil Dead. And for a first-time viewer, they might think, what the fuck is this? You know, why does this look so bad? But if they actually went back and rewatched the movies, they'd understand why they did it in that way. So yeah, it was a good choice to have that for Evil Dead fans. I wouldn't say it was necessarily a good choice to have it in for new fans of the TV show if they never seen the movies. Like I said, it could have been a put off to them just seeing something cheesy like that. Might think, no, this is low budget, this is trash, not watching this again. Why am I paying for this Stars subscription? But yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved it as well. Additionally, I enjoyed the little Easter egg for Jake skeletons in the cellar when Ash comes across it. It was another excellently placed Easter egg for the OG fans, while also giving context for newer fans. Beautifully done. Yeah, I agree with that. I pointed that out as well. Speaking of cinematography, some more, however, I absolutely cannot stress enough how fantastic it was. The shot compositions were both fresh and nostalgic from Jacobson using iconic shots from the movies and Sam Raimi. Also, however, he gives his own take on how to convey horror through the use of multiple angled shots, as discussed earlier, which conveys the power dynamics with the evil and the ghost beaters. The standout shot for me, however, is when we see Kelly trying so hard to get back in the cabin to save Heather. The camera does a 90-degree angle and slowly pans downwards, transitioning into the cell with Ash. Yeah, I love that. I love that part. An absolutely brilliant use of the camera, and this is what I mean by Jacobson taking on his own imagination of Evil Dead. He also uses, don't be saying that, mise scene, damn it, really well on this one. I know you're studying stuff like this at college, okay? I know you're doing this film review stuff at college, but, for us amateurs out there using these big words... I left school when I was 15, okay? I haven't had any education after that, apart from self-teaching myself. While not as impressive as Tilsey, I feel these were the only directors who understood, that concept, except for Raimi, of course. He just didn't use it effectively or much at all, which is completely fine as it was needed. Impeccable stuff, though, from overall from Jacobson, very impressive. Yeah, that's what I said. Like, this guy was good, but I think Tilsey might have done better. But this guy definitely tried to stand out and doing his own unique shots. MJ did the same thing. When the director kind of brings their own flavor to an episode, you can appreciate it more, especially to an established franchise that's so used to having that one director do everything. And it doesn't hurt when you bring people in who are used to horror. I think throughout the entire season so far, I think obviously aside from Sam Raimi, I think MJ has probably been my favorite director out of them all. Just the way they set everything up and the use of the shots and everything. I think they do the best work out of every director that we've seen so far. In this season, it's either MJ or the guy that did the Western Moose episode, and I forget his name. But yeah, I think both of them are doing a really good job. Jacobson wasn't bad. Like I said, there was just a few things I didn't like about what he did, but overall, you gotta realize that this was his first ever episode, and he did a good job of that. What I really enjoyed, though, most in this episode was the use of the 5 stages of grief throughout the episode. It was a recurring theme that I noticed, and I'm sure it was intentional. But anyways, also each stage was linked with each character in the episode, which I thought was a genius way, honestly. The first stage of grief is denial, which can be seen with Heather completely in denial of the whole situation, which begins to fade away as the episode progresses on, especially when she is having hallucinations in the cabin, which slowly becomes real. The second stage is anger, which you can see predominantly by Kelly. She uses anger to fuel herself with confidence and determination, which gets the job done and in the end saving Ash from being killed by Pablo, which was also a nice growth for the character as well. The third stage of grief is bargaining, which is absolutely linked with Ruby, as she is bargaining with Ash throughout the episode to take the one-way ticket to Jacksonville and be done with all the evil in his life for good. The fourth stage is depression, which is heavily present in Pablo as he's constantly trying to fight the demon inside of him, but ultimately can't, and is tortured consistently by Ruby. I think with the depression part, you could also say with Pablo and Kelly at the end of the show as well. They kind of, in the depression part, in the backseat of the Delta, they're like, what the fuck? You know, they do look so depressed there. He also prompts Ash to kill him as he feels he's the only way forward, which he feels is the only way forward, which also rids him of the depression he is induced with. And finally, the stage of acceptance is, of course, seen in Ash when he accepts the reality situation by the end of the episode. The only way past this was accepting fate and going to Jacksonville with Kelly and Pablo. I can see why this was an issue in Ash's character for some, but I thought it was totally in character, but we will get on into that next. Also, one thing to note, there was also denial in Ash at the end when the news comes on the Delta, downplays it by wanting to have a good time in Jacksonville. Overall, though, the 5 stages of grief was an excellent implementation within this episode, and it really progressed all the characters forward metaphorically and literally. My favorite thing about this episode, honestly, I didn't even really notice like that, but the way I just saw it was, these characters are all going through their own different kinds of emotions, but I never really took it as like the 5 stages of grief. So quite intelligent of you there, Sport, to point that out. But yeah, it's something I would see, but I'm not really connect the dots to it being something like that. But yeah, it's very, very well noticed. Going back to Ash's character at the end, however, I could see why why people didn't appreciate this as much, but I thought it was excellently done. If we just go back with Ash for a second, he has always made sacrifices in his life for the greater good. In all of the movies, he does this, and as a result, he loses everything and everyone he loves. For once, Ash is like, you know what, screw this, I'm taking the peaceful route. For once, he finally gets to go where he wanted to for his whole life, and even with his friend that he has made along the way in this journey. While this is out of character to some for Ash, is it really? People have to understand that this is a different Ash, and while he does absolutely want to save the world, he also wants to be with his friends doing it. I feel like he wasn't dumb in making this decision, and there really was no other way to counteract what Ruby was doing. Kelly would have died seconds later from Pablo, then Pablo would be dead after Ruby got everything from him, which leaves Ash solo once again to face everything Ruby has, and probably would have died, to be honest. I feel like Ash knew that the world slowly deteriorating was going to happen anyways, regardless. So he figured, why not have a side quest and tick something off the bucket list with his friends before they inevitably have to face Ruby and the evil together. Great progression for Ash overall, and I love the character. I love the choice that he made in the end. Jesus Christ, my throat is dying reading all this. I don't know, but the ending, like, yeah, we know Ash has that side of him of like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. I don't care about humanity. I don't care that I'm the savior or whatever. Maybe Ash knew deep down that this wasn't the moment, or this wasn't the right moment to move or to destroy the evil once and for all. Maybe he knew there was something telling him, or he had a gut feeling saying, there, this isn't the right time, so take the fucking deal. There'll be a better time. And the way I mean, I still think it's a weak ending, but the way you could interpret it is that he was trying to save his friend Pablo and Kelly more than anything, and get the bonus of going to Jacksonville. But on the other hand, he couldn't have predicted like what would happen if he killed Ruby with a Kandarian dagger. If he killed her, maybe all this possession would have stopped, and then, you know, he could have maybe tried to get Pablo off Kelly. He could have tried to remove the amulet. He could have tried to destroy the Necronomicon with a Kandarian dagger, or bury it like the original plan was. So there was a lot of different ways that this ending could have played out, and I would have been interested to see different endings to this and what they had drawn up for it. I think out of all the endings they probably wrote, this could have been possibly the weakest one to go with, and that's mainly because they may not have known that they were getting a season 2. So they try to make it fit in a way that gives the audience closure and also leaves an open ending as well. I think that's the best way to put it, I guess. One thing also to note was how excellent the practical effects and special effects and props were used here. Kind of similar to the cinematography, the effects are done in such a way that honors the cheesy effects from the movies while also respecting the God had as well. Heather's death was gruesome and definitely felt like an Evil Dead type of death. Yeah, I mean, she was just straight up tormented for a whole like 2 minutes. Like there was just one after another. It was crazy. I love seeing like the pink fog appear in the cabin as well, like when it came to life and like dragged her into the hallway. It was very horror and very Evil Dead. And yeah, this episode is just so much like Evil Dead 2. I loved it for that. Even Pablo puking up the children was disgusting to see and unique, but totally had the Evil Dead vibes as well. While the children of Ruby were definitely different for the franchise, they fit in very well. Not too serious, but not too comical, and their designs were absolutely horrifying. As Bruce was saying in the DVD commentary, if you're doing a horror, get a creepy kid in there, creepy doll, anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I think you know, children in horror stand out a lot, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like a lot of people get creeped out by it. Another side note, but I also liked how they essentially made the cabin a character in itself. It had a looming presence throughout, and it was cool to see it being personified again, like the movies did. Solid work overall from the team on these aspects. Only negative for this episode is, you guessed it, Heather. While slightly better than the last episode. Oh, Samara Weaving's grown on Spoda. She is still insufferable to watch and is just an annoying presence. Even Ash takes a dig at her when going down into the cellar, which I was laughing so hard at. Yes, I understand she's meant to be the fodder for the evil and is meant to be annoying, but this was another level of annoyance. And also, she wasn't even fodder in the end for the evil because she did absolutely nothing but try to mentally attack Kelly, which was a weak attempt as Kelly already has experience with this, so it doesn't get phased at all. Completely useless and irrelevant character. The only relevance was to make Samara Weaving irrelevant in her career and get more roles and escape the home and away soap opera nonsense. But that didn't in the end. But that didn't work in the end, as she's barely progressed as an actor. Anyways, rant over. I don't care if I'm being harsh. She is horrendous. Cast anyone else and they'd do a better job, guaranteed. I could get into a rant about Hollywood right now, but I'll save it. But yeah, this just absolutely pointless. Nothing but a scream machine. I mean, being a scream machine isn't a bad thing to be in a horror, right? Like, you know, I think she's got that trademark scream about her right now. I'm not going to sit here and defend her, okay? I'm not going to do it. Because there's some little things, the way she acts in this, that kind of stood out to me a little bit. But yeah, well, I'll not get into that. Finally, we are ending this finale strong with the incredible Back in Black by AC/DC. The lyrics are pretty self-explanatory in terms of context for this scene, but I won't get into that. But it was similar to Space Truckin' by Deep Purple, where it was absolutely badass and completely fits the mold of Evil Dead and Ash in general. Awesome way to end the season, and it really gets you pumped for the future. Overall, I was in awe of this episode when I first watched it. I was ecstatic about it, and easily one of the best episodes in not this season, but the show in general. Everyone understood the assignment. It was executed perfectly from top to bottom. Except for Heather, of course. But she's so irrelevant that I'm going to mark this masterpiece of an episode down a mark because of that. Thanks for doing this again, Pixels. Cannot wait for the next 2 seasons, hearing your thoughts and the viewers' thoughts too. See you all in Jacksonville. Rating 3 out of 3 chainsaws. Good lord. Spoda, you went ham on the finale here as a big one. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. Taking your time to type all that up. I know you were a bit late, which is fine because I'm recording this a lot later today. But yeah, I appreciate it, man, and it's my pleasure doing this. It's a lot of fun. I love that you're just shitting on Heather though. I love that you're doing that. But yeah, man, you pointed out so many great things, and you pointed out a lot more than I did. But I said I was just enjoying the episode. I couldn't, like, there wasn't things standing out for me to pick out, you know. like there has been in previous ones, because it's all been standard, and they kept the standard and consistency throughout this entire season. So it was very difficult for me to actually pick like stuff out that you did. Maybe I was just a bit dumbed down today, possibly. But yeah, right in what you say, where they had their assignments in this episode, and I think even every actor, including Samara Weaving, you've got to give her props for that. Definitely nailed it. Right? That's a good pun. That was a good pun. I know you guys are fucking laughing right now. Swash. Moving on to Swash's thoughts. Wow, this episode, where to begin? This is just peak Evil Dead at its core. Action, comedy, gore. Did I say core or gore? Peak Evil Dead at its core. Action, comedy, gore. Unique cinematography, all here. We jump right back into the action with an excellently... Fucking hell. Why can't I not say that word? Excellently choreographed. Let me start again. Okay, we jump right back into the action with an excellently choreographed fight between Ash and Deadite Amanda that accumulates in a bloody mass. I loved how Deadite Amanda still flirts with Ash, wanting a kiss, etc., but Ash isn't down, obviously. He dumped her at the right time, and that extended tongue coming out of her mouth. By the way, guys, as I'm reading this, and I know I've been doing this for fucking 10 weeks now, and you know, these go on for an hour, but I don't take breaks when I'm doing this. Usually I'll pause it sometimes here and there to get a drink, but when I was in school, I sucked at doing the whole stand-up and talking to the class thing and reading from things. I'm terrible at it. You know, doing YouTube, it kind of brought it out of me a little bit more, a little bit better, reading things on the fly. But yeah, when I'm making mistakes and stuff, I apologize, because I'm trying to read too fast sometimes, and I should just take my time and relax and chill. But I like to try and keep the momentum going. I like to be energetic, you know, and I can't really do that if I'm like reading like this. Like, I like the interaction with Kelly and Ash at the cellar. It shows that Ash has grown fond of both Kelly and Pablo. I can't read like that. It just doesn't work. But yeah, I like the interaction with Kelly and Ash at the cellar. It shows that Ash has grown fond of both Kelly and Pablo and wants to save him without putting Kelly in further danger. On the other hand, we see that Kelly wants to fight and seems like she's enjoys it, which carries throughout the rest of the episode and into the ending. The serious tone is broken by some levity, with Ash referring to not Margot Robbie as that's my joke. It's Temu Margot Robbie as the other girl, after answering her question earlier if protecting the ones he cared about meant her as well. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was not only that, but he just calls it the other girl as well, because Ash doesn't give a shit about her. He knows what's about to go down. He knows he's gonna, you know, why is he's not gonna waste his time explaining things to her. He knows that she's just gonna be dead. He just, deep down, he knows she's too stupid to be alive. The cinema, and of course she's already got a broken leg, so you know she's kind of doomed being in the cabin with a broken leg as it is. Right? The cinematography of Ash tumbling down the stairs with Ash crash landing back into the pilot episode confused was such a cool touch, and then leaves us wondering what's going on and if any of season 1 actually happened yet. Before we see, watching this for the first time, I don't really remember thinking like that, because I kind of knew that he was going to be in a vision here, but I'm curious, like, I'm wondering if you actually knew, like, if that's what you were thinking at the time when you saw that for the first time. Like, were you thinking, shit, why are we back in the pilot episode? Like, I'm curious, because I remember the first time I was watching this, I knew it was just him kind of having a hallucination. But yeah, I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Before we see Ruby chilling in the trailer and offering Ash a truce after explaining that he showed up in her book as El Jefe, her offering him a truce was interesting. I'm not sure what her long game is or what she hopes to benefit from it if he is to be her adversary and stand against her. Of course, Ash rejects it, which is why the ending on this one puzzled me. More to come later. The atmosphere and tone of this middle section were great, with Ash exploring the cellar and us getting flashbacks from Evil Dead 2 with Jake's skeletal remains laying in the cellar, as well as Kelly's battle with the cabin itself. We get some funny moments with Kelly and Heather, not to mention the great fight between Ash and the demon baby and that gore fest. Yeah, they just use a cannon to like fire that shit all over Ash's face when he kills it with a boomstick. But yeah, I love that fight, honestly. Ash finds Pablo and Ruby, with Ruby performing some ritual and burning pages of the book while using Pablo as some sort of demon incubator for those creepy demon babies. Ruby is shown to be able to control the book on Pablo's face and make him so her bidding. Make her do her bidding, I'm guessing is what we meant to say there. And it clearly putting him in jeopardy, as well as seeing all of the blood and injuries on Pablo. As Ruby uses the blood to write pages, Ash is able to overpower Ruby and retrieve the dagger with the help of Kelly coming in and disarming Pablo. The dagger is shown to hurt Ruby just by being near her skin, but that makes me wonder how she's able to wield it and use it without causing her some pain just by being near in her skin, even if she does wear gloves. Yeah, I've never really thought of that, actually, because in the game, and with her being a Dark One, she's not actually allowed to use the amulets as well, right? Because she's a Dark One. So yeah, I don't know why she's not sort of stopped from using the Kandarian dagger. But I mean, she does hold the handle and the bone bit. She doesn't, because Ash is using the blade near her flesh. And I know if she's holding it, it would sort of be near her flesh, but maybe it's just because it's the tip of the blade. I don't know. Because if you notice in the entire episode, and more or less the previous episodes, and the episode, I think it's episode 3 at the start, when Ruby's killing Deadite, Kelly's dad, in the grave, on the grave bit. They're all using sort of the tip of the Kandarian dagger. They're not really using the bottom bit or the side. Maybe it's something to do with the tip of it. I don't know. Potentially, it could be it. But yeah, it's I suppose you could see that as a little plot hole there. Ash holds her hostage with the dagger before accepting the deal truce again. I tell you what, Swash, just suspend some disbelief about the dagger. Yeah. Ash holds her hostage with the dagger before accepting the deal truce again to save all 3 of them and to go to Jacksonville, but hear the emergency broadcast about sinkholes opening up all over, as well as seeing one opening behind the car as they drive. I did not like the ending. It drags the entire episode down some for me. It just feels out of character for Ash, even if he wants to save Pablo and Kelly. Why would he just turn this book over to her when she clearly is being shown to have no good intentions with it? If she really wants humans to flourish, as she states, there can be no evil without good, then maybe Ash could have proposed to spare all 3 of them and they join in on the fight. Ash has been fighting for years already, and it's clear that Pablo and Kelly want to fight. I even watched this episode again to see if my thoughts changed about it, and it did not. I also resisted the temptation to fire up Season 2, Episode 1 to see what happens to not taint my initial thoughts. I will probably do that after I post this, but I wanted my thoughts on this to be unfiltered and unbiased by hindsight on how the show played out over its course. I also did not care for Heather much and found her borderline annoying. She can scream, though. Just going back to the whole thing with, like, Ruby and Ash and all that stuff. Right, let's go back to the last episode real quick. And I had a problem with this bit in the last episode. When they're talking and they meet for the first time, Ruby says, we need to dismantle the book. That's the only way to stop it. They don't say deface the book. They don't say, they just say we need to destroy it by dismantling it with the Kandarian dagger. And then we cut to the end scene of the last episode, and Ash is clearly performing a ritual to transfer the possession or the rights of ownership of the Necronomicon to Ruby. Which again, just it's Evil Dead, okay? Like when you start looking into things like it, none of it really does add up sometimes. And yeah, I mean, sorry, I had a sneezer. If you're picking things out like that, Season 2 is going to piss you off. The ending of Season 2. Because that don't make any fucking sense. But I know what you mean, though. I have a problem with it as well. Smorta doesn't, because he sees it as, you know, this is what's kind of been inside of Ash all along. Because obviously it's Ash 30 years in the future. It does make you feel like some of the episodes that we've seen were a bit of a waste of Ash finding himself, trying to save people, and you know, all of a sudden he's just here and he's just like, oh, I'm done with this shit. I'm just going to go and retire in Jacksonville. But like I said, maybe if you interpret it your own way of Ash having a gut feeling like this is not the right time to defeat evil, maybe that's why, you know? I just, yeah, suspend some disbelief with it. Don't look too much into the plot. Just enjoy it. But it is weak, to be honest, the whole Ruby Ash Necronomicon ordeal from the last couple episodes. I think it is some pretty weak writing around there, even though everything else has been pretty flawless. I just think they could have done a better job of that. So Swash gives this 2 chainsaws. Excellent episode and season finale, but the ending and Temu, Margot, Robbie dragged it down for me, and now I have to take a small peek at season 2, episode 1. Cheating. It's cheating. You have to wait. You should have waited the entirety of the time it took for them to actually put out season 2. Imagine that. But I appreciate your thoughts, Swash. 2 chainsaws is definitely fair. Definitely. And yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with everything that you said. You're correct there. Johnny Gomez, I like the throwback to Evil Dead 2 when Ash finds Jake's skeleton in the cellar. Magic JC says, all I can say is Lucy Lawless is gorgeous. Old Head Gavin says, the final scene with the world falling apart is Ash is just laughing and going woo. On his way to Jacksonville is the most Ash thing ever. Screw everything up again, and I'm just getting in the Delta and bouncing. Yeah. Yeah, and you'd think he would have learned by now. He would know better. Moving on to Andrew Adams, the final 3 episodes could have made a really good 4th movie to the proper timeline. It also felt like a solid send-off at the time if we would have never gotten any more seasons. Glad we did. Incredibly solid ending to what has become the weakest season in my opinion. Still hard to believe it's been 9 years since the show debuted, and I find something new to love about these episodes every time I rewatch them. Yeah, I'm the same, and you know, I've been enjoying rewatching these a lot more because I'm doing this podcast. I'm paying attention to a lot more details on things that I can pick out, and it just allows me to enjoy the episode even more. So yeah, I totally agree with like rewatching them. You always find something new that you can enjoy a lot of in this, and yeah, I agree with that. I'm surprised you like, to be honest, Andrew, I'm surprised you like the ending of this. I thought you of all people might have picked something out of the ending, but as you say, you understand that, you know, it was an all right send off if we wouldn't have gotten any more seasons, which is what I said, where, you know, maybe this was written in a way where they didn't know that we were going to get season 2. So 2.5 chainsaws for Andrew. Funny and horrific, just how we love Evil Dead. I appreciate you guys leaving all your thoughts. There was a lot more of you involved in this finale as well. I do apologize as well. I'm going to say this. I was hoping to give away some merch. I'm kind of broke right now, so I can't give away any merch. But once I've got a little bit of money saved up during this podcast, I will give away, you know, like a hoodie or a hat or a t-shirt or something like that. And I'll pick a winner during one of the episodes, just when I get a little bit of extra change, you know. Because I do appreciate you guys taking your time to watch the episodes, writing your thoughts down, even rewatching the podcast again once it comes out. You know, you want to hear my thoughts and hear your thoughts being expressed by me and reacted by me. And yeah, I do appreciate it, honestly. And I said, if you guys want to get involved, I do my community post every weekend on the channel. You just go to the community tab. You'll see me there. I'll say, you know, get your thoughts in on this episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and just leave your thoughts down below. But yeah, I appreciate what you have to say there, Andrew, and everybody else. Thank you for typing, mainly Swash and Sporter, typing out their college essays, which I enjoyed reading through, and it always gives me different perspectives on what you guys have to say, and I really enjoy it. So moving on to my overall thoughts before we end the podcast, of course. This episode was almost peak Ash vs. Evil Dead. The cinematography was on point, action, comedy, and gore all set up in the cabin as well. There's a lot of well-used Easter eggs thrown in there to pay homage to Evil Dead 2, which I love. I think even down to the smallest detail that none of you guys mentioned, by the way, and I'm pleasantly fucking surprised because I get to be the one. I get to be the one to point this out. Ruby is wearing white like an angel, and I feel like this was on purpose because normally that's what an angel would wear. That's what somebody good would wear, to have her play on Ash as a good guy, as a good person that she generally wants to help. And I'm very surprised you guys didn't notice that. And I feel proud of myself pointing that out. Okay. Don't really. But yeah, it's just something I notice every time I watch it. I'm like, yeah, she's wearing white right now. And, you know, usually bad guy would be wearing, you know, black, I suppose. But her wearing white, I just think it was a nice way for her to try and get Ash to trust her. And was well thought out, and having the smart writing from previous episodes brought into this one of Ash's chainsaw running out of gas, for example, then Ash putting his boot polish over his streak of hair that turns grey at the end of Evil Dead 2. You know, I just think the attention to detail was there for the character of Ash, you know, what he's been through already, and kind of remembering, you know, what went wrong with him, and having all these different moments of Evil Dead 2 put into this episode, I thought was a really good thing. There's so many great suspenseful moments built up in build-up scenes as well, which really makes it feel more horror as well. You know, like Ash slowly moving into down the cellar stairs, you know, remembering what happened to him in Evil Dead 2, for example. There's a lot of suspenseful moments like that. Kelly going down into the cellar for the first time. I think it's really good. I got something stuck in the back of my throat. Ugh. I'll get through it. I'm nearly there. The fight choreography was on point too. The dialogue of everyone was really well done. Seeing the cabin come to life with the props and the movement was great to see in a modern setting. So well done with no overused CGI, which is why I love watching this show so much. Well used practical effects and smart camera shots play well together in every scene, along with the actors always doing something to bring them to life as well. This is something that I really enjoy when I'm watching a TV show, is the actors having something to play with, having something fun to do. You know, like when Lucy's in the scene with Ash in the trailer, and you know, she's just sitting there, and she, you know, she's smoking weed or something, and then she flicks it at the drag. You know, just having stuff like that just to add a little flavor, a little bit more elegance to a scene. I always think they do a great job of having things like that in every episode and every scene. And you know, when there's certain TV shows where you just have characters like delivering lines, and they're just delivering them, and that's it. You know, they're not going around, you know, picking up an apple and eating it, and you know, being a total douchebag, like doing things like that. Trying to elevate the character more and showing their stance as what they're going on right now. As Sporten mentioned with Ash and Bruce Campbell, the way they do their camera shots with Ash a lot, and it's usually like this with a lot of protagonists, is they'll do it from the ground, looking up to them. Gives them more height, it gives them more dominance on a scene as well. And yeah, it always does really well with Bruce Campbell as well. And you know, just some characters you'll notice are just quite static. They don't necessarily sit there and play with things, but there's the more experienced ones like Lucy Lawless, like Bruce Campbell. They'll sit there and they'll play with things in each scene, which allows them to really bring the characters to life a lot more, and it's what I enjoy each scene more. Anyway, moving on to that. Despite all the good moments, however, I don't really like the ending. But this could have been made in a way in case the show was not renewed for season 2, which wouldn't have been a terrible ending to the Evil Dead franchise, but would have left the audience wondering what was next for the franchise going forward. I'll give this 2 out of 3 chainsaws. While this episode was hugely playing off Evil Dead 2 and having the show's plot play out there in the cabin, the ending really brings it down for me, to what could have been a really big ending after all the episodes we've just gone through with the ghost beaters and all these locations and stuff. I think the writing and some things, and with the Necronomicon towards the end of season 1, gets a little bit weak. And even with some of the characters they brought along, I think instead of these random ass New Zealand tourists that are wandering around in the forest who don't even like going hiking, like Samara Weaving's character said, I think the militia people should have played a bigger role in the ending towards the ending of this season, or even at the ending of the season. Just imagine the fucking chaos we could have got. And I still fucking hate that. Like, I don't hate it, but It's been my most disliked one so far. Or my lowest rated episode so far was the militia episode with Lem. And I'm not saying Lem was a bad Deadite or anything like that, but just having, you go from episode 5, then like, you know, you've only got 5 more episodes left, really. Although I suppose, was the militia one episode 7? Yeah, it was episode 7, sorry. So see you're at episode 7 after you just left the Western Moose, and you know, you've got 7, 8, 9, 10. You've got 4 episodes left with episode 7 there. Why aren't we using the characters from episode 7 and episode 10, having this huge build up to a big finale at the end? It didn't make sense not to do that, because if you watch other TV shows and things, you know, what's coming up to the finale is always played for like the last 4 of 3 episodes. And I suppose with the cabin, they did that for 3 episodes, but I don't know, I just thought with the militia episode instead, we could have had the Deadites hunting them down in the forest. They get overwhelmed, they get pushed into the cabin. You know, they could have had a whole ordeal play out around that. Ruby turning up as well on top of that. I just thought a lot more could have went down than just random New Zealand tourists. Instead, you could have had a lot more characters, a lot more Deadites, a lot more. I'm not saying there was a lack of action or anything like that. I don't want loaded action in Ash vs. Evil Dead, because I like to understand the lore behind things and why Ash is who he is, and you know what's happening with each character. So yeah, I just think towards the end of the season, and you know, just kind of doing a seasonal recap here, we opened the season up pretty strong. The season and the show was kind of finding its feet for a while. It finally found it in episode 6. That's when it was time to have fun with the characters, and they try to do that. They did it well in the last 3 episodes, but I just think it could have been so much better. And you know, I suppose that's just me. I'm always I guess I'm always a glass half empty type of guy rather than a glass half full, but I just believe that writing started to fall off a little bit towards the end of season 1. Yeah, there's no real other way to put it. But that's just why I think I feel like they could have written it a lot better, the ending of season 1, and they could have been built up over the last 4 episodes a lot better. Anyway, moving on. My favorite scene in this episode is Ash fighting the creepy kid. I couldn't pick out a favorite scene, really, because there was so many good ones. I enjoyed Heather's scene. Kelly going crazy outside the cabin, setting it on fire. I thought that was a really cool scene. Ash having his flashback in the trailer. I like that scene. Ash fighting the kid is obviously my favorite scene. Ash fighting Ruby and Pablo and, you know, all that. That was a good scene as well. So there's some really good scenes there, but the one that I enjoyed the most, it had comedy, it had gore and all that stuff to it. I mean, even the opening scene was great too. But the one that had the comedy, the gore, and just, yeah, what I really enjoyed was the one where Ash is fighting the creepy kid in the cellar. I thought that was, it's because it's like so claustrophobic as well. And he doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver around and things. It was so well done, and I really liked that one. Moving on, though, the overall season count. Sorry, moving on to Ash's blood splatter count in this episode. He got covered in blood twice. Which is the highest I think we've had so far in an episode of the season. Overall, season 1 blood splatter count is 7. And Deadite kill count so far is 22. Ash kills Amanda, and he kills the creepy kid. I don't chalk down Heather as being killed, because all you see is Kelly kick her in the head. I don't think she dies. If you guys want to chalk that down as a Deadite kill, go ahead. That could be number 23. But so far, I've got 22 down as overall Deadite kills from season 1, which is crazy. So throughout season 1, even though it was kind of establishing the footing of the season, and then we've got Ash killing Deadite straight away, and you know, not a lot of possession happened throughout the season either, but we still have 22 Deadite kills, which is pretty insane. And I think things might heat up a little bit in season 2, just a little bit. But yeah, that's the end of the podcast. That's the end of the finale episode of Deadite Talk. for season 1. I do appreciate you guys listening, and I hope you enjoyed this. And this has gone on for an hour and 15 minutes. I think this is the longest episode we've done so far. I do appreciate all you guys getting involved as well. A lot more you guys got involved with the finale. And hopefully you get involved with the premiere of season 2, episode 1 as well, which we'll do next week. I was thinking about maybe taking a little break from this. Just for like a week or two and then start it up again. But I know some of you guys will be eager to just continue and watching the next episode. And, you know, watching the end of season 1, I was like, right, I want to get into season 2 now, because that's when the show really takes off and has some really great episodes. And I can't wait to get into them with all you guys as well. But I do appreciate everyone sticking by, listening to the end of the podcast, sticking around for the first season as well. You know, there's a good 200 to 500 of you guys that like listening to this, so I'm going to keep doing it until the end of season 3, and that might be it for Deadite Talk forever. It might be it to get this merch as well, so you're going to have to pick up your merch before I take it away. It's a limited edition. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button. If you want to support the podcast further, please do so by hitting the join button on the channel. You can also join by the link in the description if you're on iPhone, because I know Apple sucks dick and it's impossible to become a member on a YouTube channel. You can also leave a super thanks as well. That would be greatly appreciated by me, because I don't get sponsorships or anything, so I'm doing this all for free for you guys to watch. And for all you guys that are members, I'd greatly appreciate all the support. And so yeah, next week I will see you all in Jacksonville. Take care and stay groovy.